like little dashboard, and then it wouldn't let me log in. And I think that is done by the webcam, not by mobile. So that's my bad. How are you guys doing today? It is Tuesday. I hope you had a good Cinco de Mayo yesterday. Right now, there are so many things to get into, and I screenshotted a lot of things. I wanted to talk about a few things yesterday, and they didn't like load for me on the screen. So I'm gonna get to those again today. But if you are watching on a replay, definitely put in the chat where you're logging in from, what you're doing today, what's on your mission, what's your goals for today. Today, I'm just trying to get through the live, do my job, and just peacefulness for the rest of the day. So let's get to a few of the headlines that I was trying to get to last night, which are from the Met Gala. So if you didn't see her, I don't believe that she actually walked the blue carpet, but Kamala Harris was at the Met Gala, which was themed Black dandyism and tailored style. Okay. She looked stunning, of course. And one thing to note, if you haven't noticed or didn't actually know, um, basically, Donald Trump was not there at all. And the reason that he was not there, well, because he probably would say, I don't want to be there, but he was banned permanently by Anna Wintour. Hey, Vivian, how are you? Nice to see you this morning. It's an interesting sort of presence to have Kamala Harris at the Met Gala. Apparently, what I was seeing, and I don't know if this is confirmed, but she did not walk the blue carpet just for security reasons and all of that. But still, she was there. And like I said in some of my other videos, I do believe she is steadily making her comeback. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know if she's going, yes, she does look amazing, right, Vivian? Um, I don't know if that means that she is going to enter the race at some point for 2028, or if she's just going to be campaigning for, all of the people that are going to be in the midterms. But she is making her strategic sort of speeches. She's making her presence known. She is changing the narrative that Donald Trump has to offer from bad, bad, bad. This is the trauma that I'm going to impose on America to look at how much joy she's bringing. Okay, so if you have not had a chance, like this live stream and send it out if you have a chance to share it to your friends, family, colleagues. That would definitely help to spread the word. Now, let's talk about a few of the other looks. This is Lauryn Hill. Now, the reason that I wanted you to see this is she's got this sort of thing going on behind her that kind of went further out, and it's like a little halo to me. It's like a sunshine, a ray of sunshine. And then also, she's got this, and I don't know exactly what that was, if it was some sort of image taker or if it was a fan. I'm not quite sure what it was, but this man was holding her umbrella. It was a yellow umbrella and it was divine, her whole look. And it was very structured. You can see it was structured here. And in this sort of chest area, it kind of pushes out and then in, and it's very structured. I absolutely loved it. I want to give you a few more. This one was my all-time favorite. If you didn't see Tiana Taylor, she was the theme. She was the exact theme. And there are some really dramatic photos from afar that you can see the back of her sort of jacket that kind of extended with all of this pageantry. It was very, very, very nice. You can see from the side here, this side angle, she's giving. Like the first one, you can see that she took off her hat, but in this one, she had, I mean, all of it, all of it. And I think it said something about a rose on part of her outfit. Like she was lovely. This one, Lala Anthony. Now, normally I'm not a huge fan of what Lala Anthony is wearing to the Met Gala because I think that she's beautiful, but she's not always my cup of tea when it comes to her style. But I absolutely thought she looked amazing. Like this, not just her, but like the styling and everything. I thought, because she does a lot of like the red carpet hosting and all of that. If this was your favorite, like this live stream, because this was one of my top favorites, just because it was so like the asymmetric, like everything about it was like I am so put together, and I absolutely love this one. There were a few more that I wanted to show you. Also, let me give you where is she? This one. ladies, of course I have to put my Zendaya on here. So tailored, so put together. She was actually standing next to, I believe, Diana Ross at one point, and I believe this was her inspiration. Diana Ross was, and I think that's what she was saying. Now, I don't know how much we can give credit to Zendaya or to Law Roach for this, because Law Roach has been by her side for years and years and years, and she never misses for me. She never ever misses. Absolutely. Um, Oh, thank you so much for the happy Mother's Day. Oh my gosh, isn't it on the 11th? Yes, I think it's on the 11th, but I appreciate all of the love in advance. Let me show you a few more just because this is Pharrell. I believe this is Pharrell's wife, and I liked what Pharrell was wearing, but I absolutely loved what she was giving with these sort of tights that have, I think they're Louis Vuitton. I'm just saying that this was giving so cute. It was like a cute little nod, like a lot of people do not do pantyhose tights, with things like this on them. And she had a little loafer heel. I thought this was so cute. I don't know, it was like a little bit of like a fun moment. Oh, God 365 nonstop says Mother's Day is every day. Thank you so much. It is every day. I really do appreciate that. Let me show you a few more that I thought, obviously I always look at what Anna Wintour is wearing. And apparently this coat, I'm pretty sure this was designed by Pharrell. So she was giving kind of evening gown plus a little bit of a nod to the theme. I never think she's exactly on theme because she does dress to the theme, but she's not always, super over the top with like avant-garde anything, because she maintains like obviously her signature haircut, all the things. She was not wearing sunglasses. Did you notice this? A lot of the time you will find Miss Wintour wearing sunglasses, but she was giving bright. She was giving not dark. And I absolutely love that for her. Let me give you just a few more. This was the front. Sorry, I didn't do this before. This was the front. So she's giving, this is Tiana Taylor again. She is giving the shoulder pads. And also, I think there was one that was a little bit further in. All of the intricacies here, I was just like, oh, dying because she was giving it all. A lot of my favorite looks were also the white fabric on the blue carpet. This one, sorry, let me get it out of the way so you can kind of see all of it. Christian Lockman, I thought this was stunning. And some people don't go for like, it's kind of like a fly collar. But I love that there was this sort of element of flow going to it as well. And it wasn't exactly structured to the body. It was kind of like a loose sort of suit. But I love that. I love that. I love that. And there was one other one, which was also in white, Lewis Hamilton. And this was very tailored. I loved a lot of the looks that were in white. Tell me your opinion in the comments. Waffle Jackson says, hi. Thank you for being in my comments. So there's someone missing. Oh no, wait, did I miss somebody? You have to tell me who I missed in the comments. This was my last one that I took a screenshot of. And she is on SNL. I don't know exactly how you pronounce her name. Ego Nwodim. I hope I'm saying that correctly. The reason I loved hers, this was one that was not white, and it was all black, is because she's got this pop of red on her shoe. She's got this sort of tailored pant, but then a poof, like a little bouffant thing going on her hip with like the roses and stuff. And then she's got this sort of like dazzling like diamond era in the middle. And then because we just had the Kentucky Derby, I was like, and she's giving, millionaire, like she's giving the hat fashion as well. And I feel like a lot of people, whether they did the bottom half, I loved the people that did the top half as well, with the sort of headpiece or the hat or something on the head. I absolutely love that. There were a few people that I absolutely love that I didn't put into this, but we will get to them on another day. But let's get into a few things that were happening in the news, which are very, very, very important. And I would say this one is probably one of the most, because we're about to go into summer, and Mattel CEO confirms plans to raise prices as he calls for zero tariffs on toys. Now, this comes after Donald Trump was talking about, well, I guess the kids aren't going to have 30 toys this year. Maybe they'll just have 2 toys. And those 2 toys are going to cost a lot more money, right? And Mattel's like, yeah, we're going to raise those prices. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of people have been talking about this and looking at Mattel prices, and they have started to rise. So tell me in the comments, are you buying your Christmas presents right now because you're trying to avoid the tariffs as we go into the summer? Because a lot of people buy presents early. People are on TikTok Shop all the time. People are on all the online retailers trying to get ahead of the game, especially if you're older. A lot of older people buy early and then they just are ready for Christmas time instead of waiting for the last minute rush. But this is a signal. And a lot of people are like, don't tell me I'm going to pay 3, 4, 5, times the amount for a Barbie, right? But they're telling you right now, they confirmed the plans to raise prices. What does that mean to you? Does that mean you're not going to buy the toys for your kids this Christmas? You're not going to buy the toys for the summer this Christmas? What does that mean for you? Leave a comment. If you're watching this on a replay, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. And then this happened as well. Donald Trump was talking about putting 100% tariffs on movies that are made outside of Hollywood. Okay, there are a lot, and I live in Hollywood, there's a lot of movies that are not made in Hollywood. They're made in Canada. They're made in India. There was a huge wave of movies that were made, all the Bollywood style movies that were made in India. There are incentives for people not to make movies in Hollywood and to make them in Georgia. A lot of different states. You've seen a lot of television shows that I think like One Tree Hill, like a lot of TV shows get incentives to actually film their TV production or their film in other states, not in Los Angeles, not in California. And a lot of times we've been trying to bring this sort of industry back. But to impose a tariff on 100% tariff on movies not made in the United States. And then there was this sort of ambiguity, like, what does that mean? Does that mean the production is getting tariffed, meaning if we import that? Or what about the editing? Like, if the editing is done outside of the United States, like, this was so ambiguous, and people were like, what? There was no statement from Gavin Newsom, but later on in the day, hold on, let me get back to it, because they had to put out a statement. There's 2 other things that they said here. They had to put out a statement. It says, White House says, quote, no final decisions have been made on movie tariffs. We're still, quote, exploring all options. And this is the sort of thing where he says one thing at the beginning of the day, and there's so much pushback that by the end of the day, his handlers have to say, we're still exploring that. That wasn't a final decision. Kind of like when he was talking about Harvard and imposing this sort of taking back all of the sort of IRS, not tax exempt status, and making sure that Harvard paid because they weren't going to get their grants and blah, blah, blah. And then he had to say, oh, well, that was sent in error after Harvard sued his administration, right? It's the throwing it out there and seeing what people say and then having to rein it back in because it is not popular, or it is just blatant pettiness and vengefulness. It is really, really sad that you have one story at the beginning of the day, the backlash from that story, and then the rewind, the reversal, I don't know if we're gonna do that, because you know how much goodwill Hollywood actually has around the world. The movies that they actually export throughout the world are American propaganda, if you will. Yeah, they are, spreading our sort of philosophy on what is right, what is democracy, what is all these things. That helps an administration say, how great, look at how great we are. We produce so many great stories and movies and good times that you experience with your family. Yeah. Let's think about that before they put 100% tariffs on anything. One of the things that I missed that I just passed by, and I put a little more of this in the description of what exactly this means. This is from Travel and Leisure. It's posted on Yahoo, but it says, yes, you can opt out of TSA facial recognition, and here's why experts say you should. I would go and read this article because a lot of people, when they go through TSA and they're going in and out of different airports and things, they're asked to do, you see this sort of screener, and you kind of are doing your little thing to like check in, and you're asked to do a facial scan. And it is voluntary. There are signs that say this is voluntary. And some people would say, well, hey, they already have my picture. They already took it for my passport. What's the deal? And the people who advocate for not doing the facial scan is that why should you have more images of me, right? We don't know yet, although they say they don't keep these images. They haven't said where they're going, what they're doing with the data. Like what does that really mean? Are they updating that photo every time and discarding the later one? Or are they keeping sort of a running tab of what you look like? And then on the other side, it's like, how much of this could be hacked at some point where someone who has pictures of everybody who's ever been scanned can use this in sort of their AI model to create digital images of you and recreate you in some sort of other fashion. Maybe somebody else has your digital footprint. Tell me in the comments if you have done the digital scan and if you felt like it invaded your privacy. Some people don't mind. I have done it when I've gone through TSA coming back from France. They just ask you to stand there and they take your picture. It's not where you feel like you're being like jostled or physically accosted, but it is the same sort of invasiveness. And so I want to know if you are doing this or if you feel like it's not for me. You can say, I don't want to have my face scanned. You can look at my passport and you can match and verify that I am who I say I am. And that does take you out of the line, and sometimes it takes longer depending on where you're at and how many people they have in front of you, but you're not obligated. So I would go read this article because there's some good information in there where I think a lot of people just kind of do whatever they're being asked to do, not because it's required, but because they feel like I should just do it. I'm here. I'm here right now. Okay. This is something else that I thought was really important to talk about really quickly, which is Hegseth orders Pentagon to cut the number of senior generals by 20%. And if you go into this article, it sounds like they're talking about getting rid of redundancy, meaning like there are people who are senior generals who basically kind of go along to get along. Now, I'm not quite sure if this is a good look. Because we're throwing trillions of dollars at the military. And they already cut the guy at the top because he was DEI. They already cut, there was a woman they cut at the very beginning of this administration, and those were DEI hires, right? But they were so capable, so qualified. And to cut senior generals, now I'm not sure if these are people who are in meetings that don't provide any value, but I would say that there are probably a lot of people who are in this sort of military status that have that ranking that we probably need around. Because if he's calling the shots, maybe there needs to be somebody who's been in that room for longer to tell him, no, this is not wise. And maybe those senior generals have that that experience to say, this is why we should not do this. We tried this before and it didn't work. And he should be able to listen to all of those senior generals' opinions and say, maybe they're right. Maybe we shouldn't be doing all the bad that we're doing in the world. But what say you? Let me know in the comments if you think getting rid of 20% of the people who probably have the most experience in this line of duty is a good thing, because I don't think it's such a good idea. I would much rather have them around than not have them around. Now, this is a story that I wanted to get to that I was trying to tell you guys yesterday, and then the screen did not present it properly. So this is a story that was on LinkedIn, and it says, universities are being forced to scrub DEI from their websites, but not from their athletic teams. Scrub from the website, not from the roster, the hypocrisy of DEI backlash in higher education by Dr. Gregory King. And the quote that I wanted to show you yesterday that I couldn't get to present itself, here it is. It says, let me say this with my chest. When DEI is welcomed on jerseys, but not in boardrooms, classrooms, or leadership teams, we must ask who benefits from this selective inclusion and who bears the cost. If your DEI program is too political to protect, but your Black athletes are too valuable to lose, the issue was never about merit. It was always about control. So I want you to take that with you today. This is something that I think is very important, that is not lost on any of us that have been watching. Even like me, the 92% who went out, we voted for Kamala, and we are staying home while everyone else is gathering their energy to get up out there and protest. And that is, if you're saying that DEI is so woke and so everything and should be gone from everywhere, except for the athletic field, then it's not about the merit, because those athletes have merit. They do. But it is really about who is going to benefit. If you take it away and you say those athletes, they benefited from affirmative action to get into that university. They needed the merit, their academic merit to get in, which a lot of them have great grades. It has nothing to do with their grades. It has everything to do with the fact that they're amazing on the field, which is why they're recruited, as well as being able to meet the demands of a higher education, system and all of the different grading things that they have to maintain. So if you're saying those kids didn't belong in that school because they are people of color, or they basically got a handout because they were Black, well, then you wouldn't have rosters. You wouldn't have any rosters, even though really it's not based on merit, because they do, many of them, have the grades to go to those schools, but they also have what it takes to be on the athletic field. So if you take all this sort of merit-based, acceptance in colleges and universities, and you say, hey, they actually don't belong there, I don't know who's going to be playing on those fields. There will be no teams, because it is not just about this argument of DEI, because that's not actually what's happening. I was a student athlete at University of Oregon. I was a cheerleader. We were considered student athletes, and we had to maintain a GPA. We had to have a particular GPA to actually be able to go out there and be a cheerleader on game day. If you didn't have your GPA up, you were not actually performing. And that's what happens with students and all these different athletic teams. They don't have the grades, they don't get out on the field. And so if you're saying they don't have the merit to get in, how do they have the merit to actually stay in? Because they had it to begin with. That's really why. So I hope that this helps. I wanted to get back to this. Definitely follow me here and subscribe to my channel. It's free. If you want to do the paid membership, that's also an option. You can join on the homepage of my profile and follow this as it goes into tonight. Come over to Substack Live. That's where I will be this evening, Monday through Friday. At YouTube Live in the morning, Monday through Friday on Substack Live in the evening. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I hope you have a good Tuesday. See you later.